The auditorium lights were too bright for the empty seats I kept scanning. My name was called after months of late nights, silent revisions, and exams that felt heavier than they looked on paper. I walked toward the stage, holding the plaque with both hands, trying to balance pride and the quiet sting of absence. I had expected them to be there. My parents had known the date. I had reminded them twice. They nodded both times, distracted, saying they would see if it worked. The response came the night before. My brother had football practice. It was important. His coach depended on him. No one asked if my moment mattered. On stage, applause rose from strangers, teachers, classmates, administrators. I noticed how people looked past the stage to find familiar faces in the crowd. Most students searched for their parents. I searched too. There was no familiar figure. The plaque felt heavier after the announcement of my achievement. Not because it was difficult to hold, but because it symbolized effort that had been recognized publicly while privately ignored. A memory surfaced. Exams I studied for while the house was loud with celebration over my brother's matches. Report cards placed quietly on the table, scanned briefly, then set aside. Comments about doing well, without curiosity about how. The pattern had been clear for years. I had accepted it before, told myself that attention was limited, that priorities were practical, that comparisons were unnecessary. I convinced myself achievement alone was enough. Standing on that stage, I realized achievement without acknowledgement slowly turns into quiet resentment. Back in my seat after the ceremony, classmates approached me with genuine congratulations. Teachers shook my hand and asked about future plans. Their recognition did not replace family, but it filled a space that had been repeatedly left open. For the first time, I saw something shift inside me, not anger exploding outward, but clarity forming inward. I stopped waiting for them. That decision did not feel dramatic. It felt logical, almost calm. At home later, the plaque was placed on my desk. My mother glanced at it while preparing dinner and said it was good. My father mentioned that next time, maybe they would try to attend if schedules allowed. There was no argument, no confrontation. I nodded without pushing further. But inside, something had already changed. I began making choices without informing them in advance. I applied for academic opportunities that required travel. I consulted teachers about scholarships that would move me away from dependency on family approval. I researched programs that offered housing support and financial independence. When acceptance letters started arriving, I informed them, not to seek permission, but to state intention. The first clear external shift happened during a meeting with my academic advisor. My parents were invited to discuss future plans, funding, and commitment. They assumed it was routine guidance. Instead, the advisor spoke directly to me. He asked about my goals, my preferred institutions, and my timeline for independence. He addressed my parents politely but positioned decisions around my capability rather than their control. In that room, authority did something subtle but unmistakable. It recognized me as the primary decision maker. My parents listened quietly as funding options were explained that did not rely solely on family support. Scholarships, part-time research positions, external mentorship programs. For the first time, they understood that my future was not automatically tied to their approval. The shift was visible. My father asked whether I truly wanted to move so far. My mother asked if distance meant rejection. I answered carefully. Distance did not mean disrespect. It meant responsibility for my own growth. I did not accuse them. I did not remind them of missed ceremonies or comparisons. I simply stated that I had learned to build stability without waiting for attention. The power dynamic changed not through confrontation, but through action. When enrollment decisions finalized, I signed documents independently. Tuition arrangements were structured around scholarships I had earned. My reliance on them, emotionally and financially, decreased. They felt it. Conversations at home became more cautious. They asked about my schedule more often. They attended future events when possible, sometimes arriving late, but trying. The effort was inconsistent, but noticeable. I no longer measured their love by attendance alone. I measured it by awareness, and awareness, even if delayed, felt different from indifference. The plaque from that first ceremony still sits on my desk. It reminds me of the moment I understood something important. Recognition from others is meaningful, but self-recognition backed by action creates independence. They missed the stage. But that absence became the turning point. I stopped waiting for them to show up. And in doing so, I showed up for myself. Should I write the next continuation or a sequel perspective from the parents?